Hello everybody and welcome back to artofdino.com and saveearth.us, and I've got another one. I was digging through some of my old stash of stuff and I came across this one again and I was like, I'll put it out there because it seems absolutely ludicrous, especially when you combine what the news article I'm going to share with you from 1921 says with what Wikipedia currently says, and you know that they're all baloney, all absolute garbage. But they had an interesting couple things in this 1921 article, and so it's kind of, this video is going to talk about kind of the dissonance between that and just the need for archaeology to have a powerhouse star, Indiana Jones times 1,000. That's just like, you know what, we need to do this. We need to rewrite history. We need to do things quick. Enough waiting around. We have to figure this stuff out. We've got to dig, we've got to carve, we've got to go into places and pull stuff out and tell people and disclose it to the world so that everybody can be on the same page and we can start an actual truth-based archaeological stuff and get rid of all the nonsense. So I found this cool article. I'm going to read it and I'm going to share some pictures from Inca National Park in New Mexico, as well as Chaco Canyon in Puebla Bonito. And they're both mentioned in this article in reference to tree rings, which you won't see many trees except in one little part. But either way, I'm going to read the article and then talk about it. So here we go. 1921, tree rings tell history of ancient Indian ruins. Giant trees of the southwestern plateaus are a time link between the civilization of today and the ages when prehistoric Indians erected stone and timber temples in the canyons of what is now Arizona and New Mexico. Dr. A.E. Douglas of the University of Arizona at Tucson had discovered he has found that the beams used in the construction of these ancient houses contain the same annual rings of growth that are present in time in trees that are now alive and growing on the Colorado Plateau, and he is making these records of nature bring to life long buried historic facts about the ruins. Now keep that in mind, because this guy supposedly in 1920s found trees that were there, and they date that from the origins of this place, but yet they date this back to if you look on Wikipedia, between 800 and 1100 AD. So what? And so these trees are still alive in the Colorado Plateau? I kind of doubt that. But here we go. In the dry regions of the Southwest, pine trees are strongly affected by climatic conditions, putting on larger rings when the rainfall is abundant and forming very thin rings when the season is dry. Dr. Douglas explains these characteristics may be found in practically all the trees in the forests on the Colorado Plateau in northern Arizona and New Mexico, and it is possible to identify the same rings in nearly all the trees. So again, keep that in mind. They say there were trees used in these when they found it, apparently, or when it was discovered or whatnot. There were apparently trees here. But keep that in mind, because I think those are trees from the resetters, not from the original builders. I think this place was destroyed at some event, and then people came, like locals, natives, or whatever, came and did stuff to it, and maybe reverse engineered some of the building, but most likely just kind of added different things to it that were to replace it, added a roof with trees and all this stuff, giving historians that would later discover it a vast difference between the trees and the stones that were actually there originally, and probably continue to go way, way deeper and in the surrounding areas. So here we go. In the hundreds of tree trunks which the Indians used in constructing the great building at Aztec, New Mexico. I don't really see much trees used in this, but apparently they know that the guy had a roof. There was a tree made of a roof made of trees here or something, but I don't see any resemblance of tree timber-based buildings, and I would think that after much time those would all be destroyed. But here we go. Aztec, New Mexico. He has found it easy to trace identical rings, and by assigning a number of certain ones, a simple counting of the rings to the outside gave the relative dates to which all the timbers were cut. Sure. By this method, he has ascertained that the great building of 450 rooms at Aztec took only about 10 years to build, and that the structure was begun at the east end and finished at the west. That in one case of 3 stories, they must have been built in immediate succession. This guy is blowing stuff out of his butt. He knows nothing about what truly happened, and I bet nobody does at that place currently or in any of the history books. I don't think we have an absolute clue what this thing is. People in our time came and were like, oh, that's a well, that's a blah, 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 ooh, it could be something totally different. It looks to me like there was a lot of stuff here and stuff got pulled out. It looks almost like, it doesn't really look like a village to me. It looks more like a building or something, some kind of factory. And that area up the upper right looks broken, like something got shattered there clearly, and a lot of things got turned to stone. And I would like to see what's under that cliff and inside that cliff that surrounds this place. But our weak archaeologists don't do anything of the sort. They should be blasting stuff all over the place. Who cares? If there was oil there, they'd blast the crap out of it and wouldn't even care. So what does it matter if archaeologists blast the crap out of stuff and actually find things and change history? There's no need to just baby this a lot of this stuff and be like, if nothing. It's just like kicking the can down the road. Nothing's going to get done later. And people using a toothbrush just slows down the whole process. Start blasting and start digging and start classifying and identifying ancient relics again without the Smithsonian or anyone. A totally neutral source needs to be doing this, and it must happen soon. So he says, still more interesting was the discovery that the tree rings and the timbers in the great ruin of Pueblo Bonito, which we're now looking at in Chaco Canyon, 50 miles south of Aztec, not only show that they were cut within a very few years of each other, but also show that they were cut from 40 to 45 years before the timbers at Aztec. This gives them the actual number of years between the construction of two great Pueblo buildings and opens up the way for a definite chronology of the various ruins of the Southwest, which now, if you look at it, says between, again, 800 and 1100. These trees, this guy's method sounds nice, noticing different trees and the rings and the difference and spotting them because all trees had the same weather and they produced the same rings, whatever. But again, this is totally a sidetrack of nonsense. That means nothing. They're not like, look at these bricks. Did the guys that cut down the trees also build these and stacked amazingly? These huge stones fitting perfectly all over the place, which were most likely covered with some kind of thing, some kind of like drywallish or whatever. Not drywall, but some kind of flattened thing to make it look normal. Look at this. These has the makings of so many different kinds of buildings and structures with purpose that it just is absolutely foolish to incorporate a timber and think that a couple pieces of wood would be able to do this, especially when 50 miles away, the same kind of wood, same time. The clear sign of a reset civilization that did this, and the archaeologists of the past are just getting them confused between the originators and the creators of this place when it was in its prime and those that after the cataclysm came and tried to make it good. Because if you think about it, I mean, all the buildings we're doing the same thing now. We're seeing these buildings that we can't touch, these Capitol buildings that we can't create. And I guarantee you over the last 150 plus years, people have been trying, engineers, masons have been trying to reverse engineer them and figure out all the stuff and figure out all the technicalities, but they still can't build it. Same with this. These guys back in the the natives or whatever, after whatever happened, were probably coming across these and seeing things and they're like, wow, look at the way they stack stones. Look at these things. Look at the things that we have here. And this probably before it was pillaged by the Smithsonian and other places. So they could observe stuff. They could realize, we can make a roof like this. We could take these trees. We've done canoes. We can make a roof and put a bunch of stuff on it. But again, no way does that make them the creators of this. And it has everything different. In some of the articles, again, I'll stress it again, talk about, it's called Aztec, but it has nothing to do with the Aztecs. Absolutely 100% nothing to do with their history. So again, just more methods of deception. Talking about all this stuff, it was just all deliberate deception. And now, thankfully, we are all rethinking things. And that's what I wanted to do here, is just rethink this, because look at it. Wow. And that thing in the background, that cliff, guaranteed there's stuff all over that, all in that, all everywhere around that. Who knows what is under and everywhere. But the last paragraph of this article says the trees that were cut down ages ago by the Indians and that now share equally with the living trees of today in the honor of being the most authentic pages of earliest history were transported many miles to the building sites. The Indians used their trunks as beams to make the ceilings for their larger rooms. Across these beams they laid small straight poles, and on the poles they placed brush and a thick earthen floor. Some of the ruins contained 400 or 500 rooms. Again, We need to question that. People at this time were not questioning whether this was created by the Indians or someone far earlier. But again, this points to an ancient American civilization that cannot be denied. Some type of massive construction was everywhere. Everything. This is, again, I think, part of the original construction. Part of all these things that didn't get melted. One of the few things that got uncovered by the sands. And if you go all over the place, everywhere, you're going to keep finding stuff that was built by some hand of some creative craftsman way down the line in ancient history, because we have lost it all. We don't know how. And again, maybe it was set up by, like they say, the age of the angels and whatnot, where they were setting up things. I've heard a couple people comment on that, like that's why there's no bathrooms. There's all they designed this place and then they left it for us, and we've just been destroying it ever since and trashing it. But again, who knows? I just wanted to put this out there and see what you all think. To me, this looks nothing like they say it does anywhere in Wikipedia or anything. I think this calls for more investigations. It calls for so many things. It's just like the historians kind of get extremely lazy, and the archaeologists and everyone is just so lazy, and they're just like, they don't want to disrupt the person who came before them, and then the politics of rewriting history, again, are probably not easy to do technically with the whole historical nonsense. Every element of our education is corrupted and controlled by people who don't care, and that needs to change. Again, we need radical archaeologists that are finding stuff, publishing it everywhere, that can't be ignored, and rewriting history. We need to make this discovery quick, and I think around all these places are where people need to start, and because there's so much more that isn't uncovered yet, and it needs to be, to help us uncover our truth about how awesome we truly are, and who and what came before us in this great land and realm, because that will push us beyond this realm, which we all really need to go for our own benefit and everyone's. So thank you all for listening to this and checking this stuff out. Bless you all from artofdino.com and saveearth.us. And chime in below with some comments. I love hearing from you all.